We are in section 5.1, and I am on page 3 looking at the problem that deals with televisions. It says, in a statistical study, individuals were asked to disclose a random number of televisions in their households. In the following probability distribution, the random variable x represents the number of TVs in each household, so it goes between 0 and 9. And these are the corresponding probabilities with them. So if there is the probability that someone has 8 TVs in their house is equal to 0.010. First thing says to verify that this is a discrete probability distribution, there are 3 things that have to be checked that are listed earlier on the first page. First thing is that our value x has to be numerical, which it is. The sum of the probabilities, which if you can check by adding up all of these, are going to equal 1. And the third thing is that the probabilities have to be between 0 and 1, and all of them are. Next thing says to draw a probability histogram. With histograms, the bars need to be touching. So we have the probability on the vertical axis, and we have the number of televisions on the horizontal. And if you notice, we're going to draw our vertical bars up to the height of the probabilities that we have for each of these. So take a second to pause the video and see if you can do all of this on your own and check. Next thing says to determine and interpret the mean of the random variable, and the following one says determine the standard deviation. In order to do that, we need to input our data values into L1 for our x, our random variable, and L2 would be our corresponding probabilities. So in order to do that, turn your calculator on, go to Stat, go to Edit, and make sure you put all those numbers in, double checking, making sure that you have them in correctly. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to Stat, Calc, 1-bar stats, and I have my list as my random variable into L1. In L2 I have my frequency list, or my probabilities in this case. If you have an older style calculator, you need to type this as L1, L2. Going down and selecting calculate with the newer calculators, you're going to get a bunch of values here. The first one was asking for the mean. So this is going to be the mean of our random variable x is equal to, from the calculator we get 3.21, and then likewise the standard deviation with x is equal to 1.74. And again, getting those values from your calculator and rounding 2 decimal places for these. Okay, it also asks for us to interpret this. So this says if we survey many households, we would expect the mean number of TVs per household to be 3.21. Standard deviation we are not asked to interpret ever, but the value is again given on our calculators. And again, with random variables, with our discrete probabilities, we are using population notation. Okay, the next question says, what is the probability that a randomly selected household has 3 TVs? So the probability of having 3 TVs is just by reading our table up here. So if you go back and look at your table, the probability of having 3 TVs is equal to 0.176. Next one says, what is the probability that a randomly selected household has 3 or 4 TVs? So the probability of 3 or 4 TVs, again, going back up and reading our table, is found by adding together the probability of 3 TVs plus the probability of 4 TVs. So we have probability 3 TVs plus the probability of 4 TVs. And from the table, the probability of 3 TVs is 0.176 plus the probability of 4 TVs, which is 0.186. And then if we go ahead and add those 2 values together, .362. where I go ahead and cross G off.